With my 35 years of experience, our team at US Asset Management can deliver professional investment management, financial planning to help you target your goals, and even specialized divorce financial analysis if you need it. We are here to help you make better decisions with your money. Call US Asset Management today and let's get to work in your financial future.
The left is siding with illegals, attacking ICE, and fighting to let non-citizens vote. Republican Kelvin King is a graduate of the Air Force Academy, Air Force veteran, and conservative businessman. As Georgia's Secretary of State, Kelvin will put Americans first, root out corruption, clean up voter rolls, and restore confidence in our elections. The other candidates had their chance and failed. Republican Kelvin King for Secretary of State, leadership Georgia voters can trust.
Pro-Trump warrior Steve Gooch won't just cut property taxes in Georgia. He'll throw them straight in the wood chipper.
Senior citizens on fixed income shouldn't be forced from their homes. Neither should veterans who have served our country and fought for our freedoms. And neither should anyone else for that matter. Frankly, these crazy property taxes are un-American. I'll tear them to shreds. We'll make home ownership great again.
Steve Gooch for Lieutenant Governor. Toughest tax cutter Georgia's ever seen.
Do you already have your investments with Fidelity? I'm David Cross with US Asset Management. Did you know that you can assign your investment management to my team and put my 35 years of experience to work for you? You simply assign us as your investment manager and you keep the same username and password. Professional management, and you get to work with someone who shares your values. Call US Asset Management today and put us to work for you.
What happens in Georgia gets revealed one by one as the facts are unsealed. From the pit comes what they don't want you to see. When the daily nugget of truth is dropped with your host, BKP.
And we're back. Yes, we're back. I'm your host, BKP, and you're watching... Let me get this right here. You're watching BKP Politics on voiceofruralamerica.com. Welcome today. I haven't been here for a couple days. I've been working on stories and watching all the debates, studying. So we're back, and I've got about 4 stories we're working on. So let me give you the list that we'll be doing in the next several podcasts that you can look for. Today we're going to do a recap of the Secretary of State debate for Georgia, the Republican side of the Secretary of State. We're going to do that. And next we're going to do an Attorney General. I've promised that we're going to do. I've been studying the Attorney General, Republican side of the Attorney General primary race here in Georgia. Only 2 candidates to pick from, Brian Strickland and Bill Calzert, both of them current Georgia State Senators, so we're going to be working on that. We're going to work on a redistricting. Now, I know the Supreme Court case that took place in Louisiana, and we've been waiting for them to make that decision. I know that case right there has a lot of people talking about the possibility of redistricting right here in Georgia. And so we're going to talk about that and what's the likelihood of redrawing the lines, congressional lines here in Georgia. Don't forget, we went through that in 2020. That's why 9th District Congressman at one point, Jackson County, Georgia was in the 9th District, and then it was in the 10th District, and then it was back in the 9th District. The congressman from the Georgia 9th District, Andrew Clyde, actually resides in Jackson County in the 9th District. And then he ran for re-election, and the new lines that were drawn, he was over in the 10th. And then the lines that the court approved for the state of Georgia after 2020, Congressman Andrew Clyde, his residence was back over in the 9th. Yes. So we'll talk about redistricting. And then I'm working on a story because I've had people ask that. What is the real motive behind Rick Jackson's run for governor? And I'm going to look at you and tell you we don't really know. We don't really know, okay? We're studying everything of why this billionaire may have stepped out to say he's running for governor. And we hear what he is telling people on the campaign trail, the reasoning he is running for governor. So the unforgotten people, the forgotten people, or however he puts it, in Georgia, the ones without a voice in Georgia will now have a voice with Rick Jackson as governor. So there you go. So we're looking at that, and we're going to do a story on why we think the possibility, what's one of the possibilities that he may be stepping out and running for governor. All right. Now, to answer a question before we get started, I love getting questions from you. And someone sent me a message the other day concerning the governor's race and said, how can you look directly into the camera, because I'm looking at you directly into the camera, and say that you're still undecided on the governor's race? I am. There's not one article that I've put out, not one Substack article, nothing in writing, nothing on social media, nothing on a podcast that has said vote for candidate A or candidate B, support candidate A or candidate B. Not one time. So when I look at you and say I'm still undecided, it is a race. There's other candidates on this ballot. There's several candidates on this ballot. And so I can comfortably tell you that I'm not going to say this is who I'm voting for. And I'll tell you, I keep getting the same thing, and we'll move on because we're going to get into our Secretary of State update here. But I keep expressing to you, you have research on Burt Jones. Burt Jones was a Georgia state senator. Burt Jones has been the lieutenant governor. He's run for office. He's been vetted. There's been commercials for and against him all through his political career. You've had years, media to vet Burt Jones. Same with Brad Raffensperger. Same with Chris Carr where it comes to the governor's race. Rick Jackson, you haven't. So every time I start investigating or looking through anything where Rick Jackson is concerned, it leads me to something else. And that's why I continue to investigate him, because the Jackson campaign is the most fraudulent campaign I have ever followed. There's, to me, in my opinion in politics, the campaign is a complete front, a charade, a fraud. That's my opinion. Now, let's get into the Secretary of State race, where I really didn't want to jump out too far because I'm preparing myself. Oh, before we really go into there, sorry about that. Let me do this. There is new polling in the governor's race, and we will be getting into that later. There's new polling from the AJC this morning that has Rick Jackson and Burt Jones in a statistical tie, 27, Rick Jackson 27, Burt Jones 25, Brad Raffensperger 14, and Chris Carr at 3. And as you know, our governor debate update article that we have up on our Substack, we highlight where it looked like Chris Carr, the Attorney General of Georgia, was auditioning for a job with Rick Jackson. So let's just say that right there before we get started. Now, this is the Secretary of State debate. So I'm going to say this. I'm going to give you all the candidates. First, maybe we'll go back and start here. But before I start, I'm going to give you a chance to leave the podcast. And I know you're thinking, wait a minute, I don't think I quite understand this. I'm going to give you a chance to leave the podcast. Because in the Secretary of State debate, I watched it 3 times. All right. And I wanted to be able to come and do this update, knowing I've really studied this. I studied body language. I have 19 videos we're going to play today. Yes. And the winner, this gives you a full opportunity to leave now. The winner of that debate in the Secretary of State is none other than Gabe Revere. Who is Gabe Revere? You remember Paul Revere? Well, Gabe Revere is Gabriel Sterling, who had an opportunity for an hour, and I will show you, to look at the camera and say, the Democrats are coming, the Democrats are coming. Sounding the alarm. The Democrats are coming for the Secretary of State's office, and if they get the office, this is what they will do. Now, the other candidates on the stage did not get their message out clearly because we had a real disgrace in the Secretary of State's race, and Vernon Jones is an absolute disgrace, okay? A candidate claiming to be a Republican running for Secretary of State. And when I say that, he is on the Republican ballot. All right, he is. He did qualify as a Republican, but it was a real disgrace what he did the other day in this primary Secretary of State debate. And I'm going to show you everything. All right? But Gabriel Sterling was able to get his message across. And in this picture, you might not be able to see it, but while there is a back and forth between Kelvin King and Vernon Jones, Gabriel Sterling has his arms crossed and is smiling from ear to ear like, go ahead, guys. Keep going. Keep going. I'm fine with this. And I will tell you this. The last Democrat Secretary of State in Georgia was Kathy Cox. Kathy Cox. And Kathy Cox made the deal and implemented the first, she's a Democrat Secretary of State, she implemented the first Georgia first state in the United States to have a 100% electronic voting devices, Diebold, Kathy Cox, Democrat. Now, what Gabriel Sterling did for an hour, he had a clear path to tell you the Democrats are coming. And we're going to show you. All right? So, let's go back. Now, politics has what I call all of the great plausible deniabilities. Plausible deniabilities. Now, this is Tim Fleming. Tim Fleming is a state House representative. He's actually former chief of staff over, or former co-secretary of state for Brian Kemp when Brian Kemp was Secretary of State of Georgia. And he's a state rep now. Tim Fleming served on the Blue Ribbon Study Panel, all right, on election procedures. He chaired the Blue Ribbon Study Panel on election procedures. And he has an enormous amount of endorsements around the state from what I would consider establishment lawmakers and people around the state that want to stay in the political circle. Now, I don't know this for a fact, and I always get in trouble. Well, why would you even say it? This is the circle of politics. So, when candidates get into a race, there's all kinds of plausible deniability. So I can look at the camera and tell you, I don't know if someone was paid. I don't know if someone got a job offer. I don't know what actually went down. But I have a gut feeling, and if you have seen me, that I do have. That's a gut. I have a gut feeling that Vernon Jones is in the race to help another candidate. That's my gut feeling, all right? that Vernon Jones is in this race to try to take down a candidate so they cannot win the primary and get on the general election ballot for Republicans. That's my opinion. And I want to be clear with that. I cannot prove that. But his actions throughout this campaign and who he's attacking during this campaign, we're going to show you why I feel that way. Because you could end up, after today, you could end up with Tim Fleming as your nominee on the Republican ticket going into November for Secretary of State, or brace yourself, Gabriel Sterling. Gabriel Sterling will have money, and if he can get in the runoff, he could have some money to spend. Now look me in the eye and tell me, what if out there, well, who we call the base, you wake up and someone says to you, Gabriel Sterling is on the ballot for Secretary of State going into November. And you feel like since 2020, you've been living a nightmarish dream, and there's no way that's possible. Oh, by the way, Brad Raffensperger, Secretary of State in 2022, the guy that could never win re-election. Think about it. Now, this program has nothing to do with endorsing, supporting, liking, saying go vote, period. It's just showing you what is laid out here. And I was so angry with this debate. And at first I thought I was going to say something, and I'm like, well, wait a minute. I want to proceed with caution of how I handle this. And then I thought, yep, I'm going to handle it just like that. So here's Tim Fleming, and he is an empty podium at the debate. Empty podium. Well, guess what? By the time this debate was over, most people don't realize that an empty podium was even there. Vernon ran cover for it. The fact that Tim Fleming did not show up, look at the voters, talk to the voters, take questions from the panelist or one of his opponents, that's gone. That evaporated. Because of who? Vernon Jones. Here is Vernon Jones, former CEO of DeKalb County. Now, we're going to talk about him being former CEO of DeKalb County in just a minute. This man attacks, and we're going to show you Kelvin King. He attacks Kelvin King on the stage when we had three candidates that could have zeroed in on Gabriel Sterling, and Gabriel Sterling was afforded the opportunity to look directly into the camera. Well, we'll show you in a minute. Here's Mr. Kelvin King. Now, Kelvin King and Vernon Jones running for the same pot, the same pool of votes in the state. Vernon Jones is not running for Gabriel Sterling's votes. That's not going to happen. Vernon Jones is not running for Tim Fleming's votes. That's not going to happen. But Vernon Jones is running for my full opinion to go after Kelvin King's votes, to delete his vote block and stop him from being your nominee. Vernon is a smooth talker now, he is. Here's Gabriel Sterling. Now, here's where you're welcome to leave again, but I study politics and I study how it comes across on the TV. Gabriel's got that hair slicked back. I'm telling you, he's got a nice haircut. Sure does. There's not a wrinkle in that jacket. That tie's just right. He picked that shirt up straight from the dry cleaners, right? Maybe even has a manicure. I'm not joking. And he gets to look at the camera and say, the Democrats are coming. The Democrats are coming. Here's Ted Metz. He was there. Ted is a brilliant, when you sit down and you discuss election law and what has taken place and all the violation and fraud, anything, all the court cases, Ted is a wealth of knowledge. But again, Ted is in the pool of votes. Ted Metz is not there in the pool of Gabriel Sterling's votes. He's not there in the pool of Tim Fleming's votes. You know who you are. I see you on social media. Go Ted Metz. Vote Ted Metz. Okay. I'm supporting Vernon. Okay. Then you wake up and you rub the cold out of your eyes and you yawn and you stretch and you go over and you get your phone one morning and it says, Gabriel Sterling is your nominee. Or Tim Fleming is your nominee. How did that happen? So let's keep going here. Now, here is the only thing that anyone could see. And I don't, I thought to myself, how do I do this? How do I put this? There's no other way to put it out. These are two black men, period, right? And they're pointing at each other. Right? It's two black men in a confrontation on TV pointing at each other. Now, Vernon Jones went in. Vernon Jones is despicable to me. He crossed a line. Used to be a friend. Now he'll attack me. He'll say nasty stuff about me. And you can go back in the vault and look. He has been on my program in the past multiple times. And for years I considered him a friend. I got along with him. I didn't have to have a lot of interaction. But in this race right here, he has crossed a line, and he is a despicable candidate. And if, I'm going to look you in the eye, if for some reason Tim Fleming becomes your nominee, you will have this day right here, you'll have Vernon Jones to thank for it. Because Vernon Jones had an opportunity 4 or 5 times to go after Gabriel Sterling, but he didn't. He wants to dilute that vote because, as I've said many times on this program, Republicans have about 3 lanes. We have about 3 lanes. We have this pocket over here that is the strong base. Now, this is the only graphic that you see. Now, I'm going to start going through video one at a time. I'm going to come back and I'm going to break this down. Now, the first video I'm going to go into is I'm going to show you Gabriel Sterling getting an opportunity to say the Democrats are coming. All right? Now, just saying, he's going to get an opportunity here to say the Democrats are coming.
Realize moving forward is our opponents are the Democrats. And I'm the only person on this stage who has worked to actually pass election integrity laws. In 2021, I helped to author SB 202, the Election Integrity Act. Our office and our team implemented it. Then I was the one sitting in court defending it. I was the one when Stacey Abrams, Joe Biden Justice Department, and the entire woke world came after Georgia. I was the one in the gap defending you in election integrity. Now we have a system that is viewed across America as one of the best. Fox News says we're the best. Heritage Foundation says we have the highest security. In 2024, 90% of conservatives trust the outcome. We've already reached that point. I want to defend it and keep us the best voting state in America. 2026.
All right, so Gabriel Sterling got an opportunity, right? He got an opportunity, and let me tell you something. If you don't stick out for the entire show, he got an opportunity to look like the adult in the room. Now, I know I already hear people out there screaming at me, how dare you? No, he got an opportunity to sound the alarm. He got an opportunity, uninterrupted, to say the Democrats are coming. And he got an opportunity to look like the adult in the room. Now, and he got an opportunity to talk to the people out there. It says he's saying our elections are safe. Now, I'm going to give you the next one where Gabriel Sterling gets an opportunity to look at the camera. No interruptions. No Vernon Jones saying that's a lie. No Vernon Jones saying, hey, Gabe Sterling, why don't you tell us? Whatever. Nothing. No interruptions. And I'm going to give you the next one here that Gabe Sterling gets an opportunity before we get to other things that took place.
Because the voters trust the outcomes of these elections now. We have the best and safest elections in America. Fox News says it. Heritage Foundation says we're the most secure. And that's what President Trump wants to see, is free, fair, honest elections that are appropriate and correctly counted for the voters, because their voices need to be heard.
Your wife is
Okay, there's the second one. All right. Here's the second one. All right. And Gabe Sterling gets to look in the camera and make his case. This is where a panelist, and I'm pretty sure I knew this question was coming, and I'm sure he knew it was coming. Now, Kelvin King, and we're going to break this down because we're going to go into everything. He is asked by this panelist, we're going to play this, about his wife, Janelle King. All right? And then we're going to break that down. Okay? So listen to this one here.
currently a member of the state election board, which hears complaints about possible violations of state election law. She has been very vocal from this position. She's been a very vocal critic of the Secretary of State's office. She's also been with you on the campaign trail. What do you say to people who think that this might be a conflict of interest?
Yeah, I say to people that this is not a conflict of interest. We've checked with attorneys. I'm a candidate just like the other candidates. They all can go to the state election board meetings. In fact, I encourage every candidate to do that because you're going to learn a lot. What I learned is that there's illegals voting in our election. I mean, there was someone who...
Question is coming from...
Now, you don't have Gabriel Sterling calling Janelle King being on the state election board a conflict. You don't have that. You don't have Tim Fleming there calling Janelle King being on the state election board a conflict. You don't have that. You see, Gabriel Sterling and Tim Fleming, they have Vernon Jones to do their dirty work. They can just sit back and say, Vernon, attack Kelvin King, because the candidate they fear most is not Ted Metz. I sent Ted Metz a message that said, you did a good job. I thought he did a good job. Very knowledgeable. All right? He stayed focused. He did a good job. But the candidates, when you get to Tim Fleming and you get to Gabriel Sterling, they're not concerned about Ted Metz. They're not concerned about Vernon Jones. Their biggest concern on that stage is Kelvin King. Biggest concern they have. And they have to defeat Kelvin King without firing a shot, might I say, or making an accusation or attacking him. They have a black man. Yes, I don't care. You can turn it off. You can call me anything. They have a black man, Vernon Jones, to attack this other black guy. See, they don't have the white guy attack. Trust me, I know how their wheels spin in their little devious brains when they're coming up with their nefarious acts. I know how they work. okay? So they don't have to do anything. Well, they can just step aside. Gabriel Sterling can just fold his arms and go like this while this happens. Now, let's address Janelle King because it keeps coming up on the state election board. Let's address that. All right. So, and let's get the in the room out of the way. Now, here is Janelle King, and I might get in trouble for this, but then again, what would this show be? I know this young lady when her name was Janelle Jones. Yes, Janelle Jones. And I'm going to tell you this because I want you to know the facts on this, because you're going to see Vernon Jones take everything out of context. It's a disgrace what he did, okay? He should apologize to Republicans all across the state, not just to Kelvin King. So I used to, years ago, I used to watch the Georgia Gang every single Sunday morning. And I think it was like August 2019, somewhere around then. I don't remember. But I used to watch Dick Williams, and for you older folks out there sharing the show, our bow tie friend, right? And I used to watch Dick Williams, and that was back when the Georgia Gang would have some very nice debates on Sunday morning. And Dick Williams, very good political debates, unlike today's version of the Georgia Gang. So one morning I get up and this young black lady's on there, and I'm like, okay, who's this new panelist? I sure hope, this is what I thought, so I'm going to be honest with you. I sure hope Dick Williams hasn't gone out here and found some liberal young lady. So I'm drinking the coffee, right? And I'm watching, and Janelle makes her first comment on a political subject that they're debating. I'm like, wait a minute, that's what I think. And then she makes another comment, and this is a long time ago. I'm like, wait a minute, she's 2 for 2. So I watched the show, and she's not even going to remember this. She's not going to remember this. But I watched the show, and when it was over, I found Dick Williams' email address. I would at that time, I would email the Georgia Gang quite often. And I emailed him, and I thanked him for Janelle Jones being on the show. And I said, I think she's a really bright breath of fresh air for your program. She brought a fierce debate. And here's what I found out since that day. She's never changed. Since the very first time, and Dick Williams sent me back the nicest email thanking me and said they would be inviting Janelle back to the show. This is before she married Kelvin. All right? Now, keep this in mind. I'm going somewhere with this. It's worth your time. So I continued to watch her on the show when she was a guest panelist, and she's never changed. So obviously she gets married to Kelvin, and Kelvin runs for the U.S. Senate. And I followed, and I've told you this before, I followed that U.S. Senate seat when Herschel Walker ran. And that's where I met Kelvin and Janelle. And I met Kelvin's family, his mother, his grandmother, just beautiful people, just absolutely beautiful people. Strong moral character, faith, just amazing people to sit down and have a cup of coffee with. And that being said, you know, Janelle never changed all through everything. Now, let's fast forward. So, Ed Lindsay, now remember this, on May 7th, don't forget, we're going somewhere with this. On May 7th, all right, was it last year, about 44 people signed up to speak at the state election board. right? About 44 people signed up to speak. And out of 44 people, don't forget, about 37, 38, the majority went to the podium and asked for Ed Lindsay's resignation. I'll never forget that meeting, right? Now, at this time, Kelvin King is not a candidate for Secretary of State. All right? And Janelle King was appointed to the State Election Board May 12th, 2024. She was appointed to the Election Board May 12th, very next meeting, 2024, took the podium immediately, started working her way through to find out, hey, what's going on here? A quick study, put the time in, worked very hard. And I started paying attention. Now, when her husband, Kelvin King, became a candidate for Secretary of State, I said to myself, look, I'm going to scrutinize this. And I'm going to watch these state election board meetings. And I'm going to watch them to see if I can get a feel if Janelle King is possibly, using the state election board as a campaign stunt. Okay? If she's possibly using it as a campaign stunt for her husband. I did. And I watched several. And then at Fannin County, they visit Fannin County on the campaign trail. There's been some talk that the two of them go on the campaign trail together. Well, it is her husband, okay? She supports her husband. So I asked a question in Fannin County about a possible conflict of interest. And this is where I was told that they had an attorney look at it, and the attorney looked at it and said, you're not breaking any rules. So keep that in mind right now, no matter how much they get attacked. They're not breaking any rules. There's no attorney said you can't do that. There's been no legal advice to say you got to be removed from the Board of Elections. So keep all that in mind. Now, I watched, moving on, because we're going to move on from this one item, because I keep hearing it. I watched several meetings on the state election board, and I scrutinized her to see, are you doing the work? Are you doing the work that you were put on the board to perform for the citizens of Georgia? Are you doing the right thing? Or are you using it to benefit your husband's campaign? So one day, after several meetings, I sent her a message and asked her to call me, and she did. And I said, Janelle, I want you to know something. I scrutinized several meetings to check to see if you were using your position on the board as a campaign stunt for your husband. And I don't remember the quote, and she come back and said, well, knowing you, it was a little bit of laughter. Everybody knows me, like, knowing you, I'm for sure you did. And I said to her that day, you know what? I have studied this. And you're doing your work that you were appointed to do on the election board. And it's not a stunt. So I'm going to look you right in the eye and tell you, I have yet to feel that Janelle King is on the state election board, and it's not come across to me that way, and she's done nothing for me to feel that it's a campaign stunt for her husband. Number one. Number two, it's her husband. She's on the campaign trail supporting her husband. All right? And according to what Kelvin said at the debate, it's not a conflict because she's not been asked or told that she has to step down from the board, or he has been told you can't have your wife on the board as a candidate. So I wanted to cover that because it's all the time. Now, let's move to the next part, okay? And we just went through the possible conflict. Now, we're going to go back to Gabe because I have these in order, right? We're going to go back to Gabe. Sorry about that. I have these in order. And again, after Kelvin King is asked this question, Gabe gets a straight lane again.
Caleb.
Mr. Sterling, you oversaw the implementation of the state's current voting system. It has been identified that there are vulnerabilities with the system that have never been patched by the state, and many critics have concerns over the QR codes that are counted as the official vote. Given all that in mind, do you still have confidence in the state's current system? And is there anything that you would change about it?
I do have confidence in the current system as it is implemented now. We have made improvements on security every single year. The patches you're talking about, we would have loved to be able to do, but the legislature never funded it. What the real vulnerability is in the long term is if a Democrat takes over this office. Because what they want to do is they want to come in, they want to get rid of voter ID, they want to get rid of our list maintenance, and they essentially want to let non-citizens and illegal aliens get onto the rolls. And that is the real security problem we're going to have in the long run, which is why you need to elect me, because I'm the only person who took on Stacey Abrams, Joe Biden's Justice Department, and the woke world when they tried to sue us to do these exact same things. I can only go by what they have done. Every Democrat in the legislature has voted twice to leave the loophole in the Georgia Constitution to allow non-citizens to vote. And every lawsuit we've had has been to get rid of voter ID, to get rid of list maintenance, and to get rid of our citizenship verification. I can only go by the things that Democrats have done in the past. And in the future, I'm the only person on the stage ready to defend our overall voting system and keep it safe and secure for every Georgian to know the outcome is correct.
Now, Gabe gets another lane. He gets to talk about QR codes. He gets to talk about the patch that actually my understanding is, and we won't go down that road, we can't patch the machines because we're running a system that the patch that they're talking about won't work. It's outdated or whatever, right? Here's all these opportunities for like Vernon Jones to say, hey, Gabriel Sterling, you're wrong. Here's all these golden opportunities for these three candidates to go after, no other way to put it, Gabriel Sterling's comments concerning the QR code, the patch. But he gets to look at the camera. No one interrupts him, and he gets to say, the Democrats are coming, the Democrats are coming. I'm the adult in the room. That's what that means. That's why you need to elect me. That's the translation. I'm the adult in the room. I'm the one that can stay focused. I'm the one that's not all over the place, because you're going to see. But no, Vernon Jones wants to attack a black man and a black woman, his wife, right? With all these opportunities. Gabe gets the green light. Now, here is the first exchange with Vernon Jones and what he does.
Question for one of your opponents.
Yes, this question is Mr. King, and to the moderators, first question about the conflict of interest. You sit on the board of the state. Your wife sits on the board at the state. You and your wife work for the same company. You have a multi-million-dollar contract that you've had going back to 2016. You just renew that contract again, going to 2026. So are you going to tell the people right now how many millions of dollars you made of taxpayers' dollars, and are you going to terminate the contract before this election?
Oh, no, not at all. Clearly, you don't know what you're talking about. I'm a licensed general contractor. I do public sector work. I bid on every single job I have. I'm actually pretty good at it. I was a contracting officer in the Air Force, so my background is extensive when it comes to government procurement, government use of funds. In fact, contracting officers are the only authorized representatives of the federal government that could spend your tax dollars. So I'm trained to do that. Unfortunately, I wish you had that type of information and you were trained, because when you were CEO of DeKalb County, you bloated the budget. You spent extensively on security. You were indicted or, no, excuse me, investigated for, I guess, giving jobs to black employees over white employees. That's discrimination. And the county had to pay $2.5 million for that. That type of mindset is not needed in the Secretary of State's office. This office is about professionalism. It's about an executive. It's about integrity, not about a character, but it does require a leader of character. And that's what I'll bring to the Secretary of State's office. Thank you.
And Mr. Jones, you get a 30-second rebuttal.
Again, Mr. King, you did not answer the question. You do, in fact, have a contract with the state of Georgia. You've been making millions of dollars. Your wife had a conflict. Your wife was sued on the board, and his taxpayers had to pay $50,000 because she was using a private email. I was never convicted or charged of anything like you said, so that's just fake information. And my security, police department handles the security. I don't handle security. And in addition to that, I've never raised taxes, and I got our county to a dual AAA credit rating, which has never happened in his life. So,
all right.
Now remember, Vernon Jones has an opportunity with Gabriel Sterling. Vernon Jones has an opportunity to look to the right and say, folks, here tonight, we have one candidate on this end that is not telling you exactly the truth about the 2020 election, or go after him about the QR code or the patch or any of the cases, or hey, Gabriel Sterling, what say you about 300X plus whatever number of ballots that does not have chain of command, proper chain of command signatures on the tabular. He has all these opportunities. He has an opportunity to say, right? He has an opportunity to say, hey, there's an empty podium here. Why didn't he show up? He didn't have, and the guy over there. But no, what does he do? I mean, it's one of the biggest disgraces I've seen. Vernon Jones, because he says this. Don't look at me. Don't look at me. You understand? Don't look and attack me. He'll go and stand in front of a crowd and he plays his race. Oh, he does. He plays his race. Oh, by the way, I have the video. So if you want to come after me, you come after me. Because he'll say, when he gets done, he'll say, oh, by the way, I'm black. Right, Vernon? Because I know you're going to watch this. Right? Vernon will say, oh, by the way, I'm black. Right? And this black man, Vernon Jones, goes after, what's he do? He goes after a black man and his wife and attacks them. Right? Now, I'm going to show you, because this is the low of the low. But then again, it's Vernon Jones, so what else would we expect? I'm going to show you something because I went and investigated this, and it upset me so bad when I watched it. Because, you know, I mean, I have to be careful not to say things. I'm really upset by it. So let's go with this. First of all, he accuses Kelvin King of being on a board. Well, you're on a board. Your wife's on a board. So let's be clear here, okay? Kelvin King, it's called the Georgia Commission on Equal Opportunity. And it's internal for state employees. And the governor appoints different people. And Kelvin King is appointed to this board. There's no conflict here. He's not doing anything wrong. Even as Secretary of State, there'd be zero anything wrong with him serving on this board. If he wanted to, he'll probably get off of it, but there's zero wrong here, okay? Vernon's trying to imply, he's trying to plant something in your mind. He's trying to make you think something. It's the low of the low. You're despicable, Vernon Jones, you are. It's the Georgia Commission on Equal Opportunity. Specifically, their Equal Employment Division. They handled discrimination complaints for state government employees and job applicants in Georgia. Things like race, sex, age, disability, or national origin. It's the state level version of the EEOC, but only for state agencies, not private employers. All right? That's what it is. Do you serve on a board? You serve on a board? Vernon, how dare you? Now, here's the current board. You can go look it up. Vernon trying to imply something. The current Board of Commissioners for the Georgia Commission of Equal Opportunity includes, as you can see, there's a chair, there's a vice chair, there is a secretary, then there is Travis Stagel, right? Stagel, Karen Johnston, Kelvin King. Kelvin King is on the board. That's the official list. What harm is that? What is wrong with that? What is wrong that the governor of the state of Georgia felt Kelvin King had the character and the discernment to sit on a board like this, to listen to cases like this? Actually, that is something that I think is of the highest level of dignity for this person. I'm just telling you, this is someone that the governor felt could have a non-biased, colorblind, open mind and be able to make proper decisions. Right? We're going to show you the opposite. Now, DeKalb County, Vernon Jones, just like Kelvin King said. You do not want Vernon Jones inside the Secretary of State's office. I've said it before. I'll say it again. I've told you this. Democrats are salivating. They're absolutely salivating that Vernon could be the nominee. Yes, DeKalb County did settle that discrimination lawsuit. It was a reverse discrimination case from around 2004 where White Park department manager sued, claiming Vernon Jones pushed to replace them with black employees to make the county's leadership darker. That was actually in the complaint. A jury found the county liable, awarding them damages, and after the judge added $2 million in legal fees, the county settled post-trial for $1.3 million total to cover everything. It wasn't a pretrial settlement. They went all the way through the trial. So they went all the way through the trial. A jury found damages. Okay? Vernon Jones found damages and awarded them. And so I went to find, here is the case. Here's the actual case. The case is Bryant versus Jones in the Northern District of Georgia, right? And I went to see if I could find this in the New York, anywhere else, so I could actually, when I talk to you about it and I make a statement on it, I try to double check AI. And here is the New York Times, April 1st, 2010. A jury awarded more than $180,000 in damages Thursday in a reverse discrimination case against DeKalb County and its first black chief executive, Vernon Jones. So I went and I said, well, wait a minute. Park and Rec Department claimed they were victims of an attempt to replace white with black. So I thought, well, wait a minute. That's not what I heard. So I went back to AI and I said, hey, I need you to clear something up. In the New York Times piece, I asked AI, wait a minute. New York Times says $180,000. What is correct? The New York Times piece only reported the jury's verdict on damages. about $185,000 to two plaintiffs. That's the $185,000 that I saw in the New York Times article. What I mentioned earlier was the total cost to the county after the judge added $1.9 million in attorney's fees. All right? And they had a settlement. So that's number one. So the accusations that Vernon Jones is making at Kelvin King is just trying to paint with a brush and get you to think something nefarious or something bad of Kelvin King. But it's actually what Kelvin King said back to Vernon Jones. But you notice Kelvin King is not able to use his time to say, Democrats, I'm going to tell you something. I'm going to give you the end all. In this 1 hour, I think if you go back and watch, I'm correct here. In this 1 hour, the only one that ever said Democrats or even said Trump, I think, was Gabriel Sterling. Right. So Kelvin King didn't get an opportunity to take his time and say, hey, where is Tim Fleming today? Hey, they didn't get the time and opportunity to really drill down on some of Gabriel Sterling's answers because Vernon Jones set up a fight intentionally to take Kelvin out of the game and try to drag him down. Oh, have I said you're despicable, Vernon? You are. You're absolutely despicable. Now, what's next? The accusation concerning his security detail. All right? Now, yes, there were accusations in 2003. A grand jury investigated Vernon Jones' 5-officer protection detail. He had a 5-officer protection detail that cost around $800,000 a year, far more than other officials. They called it a very expensive decoration and criticized it as excessive, though they didn't find it unlawful. So they didn't find it unlawful, but Vernon did spend $800,000 in a year on a security detail. Some reports also said his bodyguards followed him on personal outings, and the police chief later claimed Jones pressured him over the detail. It's all in the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. All right, so those are the two accusations that Vernon Jones made against against Kelvin King. Now, again, while this is going on, Gabe Sterling, he's laughing. He really is. He's chuckling over there. He has his arms crossed. Exactly. Now, let's continue on with a couple more videos. Hang tight here. Let me get another video up.
We're going to move ahead, Mr. Sterling.
Look, in 2021, our office worked with Governor Kemp and the legislature, and we passed SB 202, the Election Integrity Act. And when the Democrats came, and they are going to come again, because we have, I think, 16 active lawsuits right now, they want to get rid of voter ID, they want to get rid of list maintenance, and they want to allow non-citizens to get on the rolls. These are the actions they have taken. I'm the only candidate in this race who has been in the courtroom, worked the legal strategies, worked with the Attorney General's office and the Governor's office to defend the Election Integrity Act and make sure that we have the strongest, safest elections in America.
Would you like to?
See what Gabe's saying? I'm the adult in the room. I'm the adult in the room. The Democrats are coming, right? Gabe Revere. Democrats are coming. Democrats are coming. Nothing. He is not pushed in any way whatsoever. And in fact, when it came time, all right, when it came time for Gabriel Sterling to ask a question of one of his opponents, what did he do? He said, I was hoping to ask my opponent Tim Fleming a question, but he's not here today. He's the only one that said Tim Fleming's not here. He's the only one that said Trump. He's the only one that said the Democrats are coming. And he is the one that got a clear shot to look in there unscathed at all and say, I'm the adult in the room, this is why, and cross his arms and say, I told you so. And Vernon Jones did that on purpose. Right? So now Kelvin King is going to be the only one. Well, no, Ted Metz did also, not Vernon Jones. But now we're going to listen to just a touch of Kelvin King's question to Gabriel Sterling.
Ask a question.
Sure. My question is for Gabriel Sterling. I believe transparency is the best disinfectant. Now, you walked away with a $200,000 no bid contract that effectively doubled your salary on taxpayers' dime. Would you commit today to ending?
It's effective in the November election. In June, there were some problems in the primary in Fulton County only, and that wasn't a problem with the machines. That was a problem of Fulton County training and hiring. I have saved taxpayers millions of dollars, and I'm the only person in this race who can take that knowledge and used it to defend our systems and defend our Election Integrity Act and beat back the Democrats, because what they want to do is they want to get rid of the voter ID, they want to get rid of list maintenance, they want to let non-citizens on the rolls, and I'm the only person who can stop that.
Okay, so we played just a clip of Kelvin King asking the question, right, about the time when Gabriel Sterling left the office to be the implementation manager for Dominion voting system and became a subcontractor. What happened? Gabe turned it right around. And he even said this time, election integrity. Election integrity. He has said the Democrats are coming. He has said, I'm the only one on the stage. I'm the only one here. The Trump, you're going to hear later. And he also says, hey, Tim Fleming's not here. So he turns it right around. You're going to see that. Now, Ted Metz takes an opportunity to ask Gabe a question. We'll get that one real quick.
Of the 2020 election, your boss, Brad, went on NBC and said that there was 4.7 million Georgians that voted and only 2% of the votes were left to count. Counting would finish that day and would not affect the results of Trump winning. Instead, counting continued for days and nearly 5 million votes ended up.
Buckets of votes that have to wait until the final Friday after that Tuesday. And guess what? It was a close election. Georgia is a purple state. And that is the danger we're facing right now. It is a purple state. We got to have somebody who can run for this office and win and make sure we stop the Democrats from doing all the things they want to do to take away our security. It would cost, we told them every single year, we put in a budget request for.
Gabe turned it right around, didn't he? Right? Ted Metz attempting to talk to him about that morning when Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger said we only have about 2% out there. Gabe turned it right around. What'd he say? We're a purple state. The Democrats are coming. I'm the only one on the stage that can keep the Democrats away. Turned it right around. Now, Gabe handles the QR code. This guy asked Gabe a question concerning the QR code, and he handles it. Here you go. Hold on a minute.
For it every year. In fact, budget request for it every year. It would cost, we told it would cost, we told them every single year. We put in a budget request for it every year. In fact, the governor put in money to get rid of the QR codes because he felt the obligation since he signed the bill to get rid of QR codes. The problem we're running into now is the legislature couldn't decide amongst themselves. And having this ambiguity leaves a wide opening for the Democrats to take us to court again and try to put in their favored policy outcomes, which is to get rid of voter ID, get rid of voter list maintenance, and allow non-citizens on the rolls. And also Stacey Abrams' favorite, which is to go to hand-marked paper ballots. Every single lawsuit she's ever filed has been to take us to hand-marked paper ballots. They are insecure. They're a lot less secure because it requires no skill to overvote a ballot. That's just the case. And the reality of this is we have a very elegant way to do it using the optical character recognition for all the ballots, and we can count all of them before certification. It costs no more money, and the secretary has told them how to do this.
However you may feel about it, the guy is smooth. He answers the QR code, right? And he says paper ballots are unsecure. And you're out there yelling at the TV. You're yelling at the TV. You're yelling at the TV. But our three candidates, right? And Vernon Jones in the race to dilute the vote. Ted Metz in the race. Again, I really like the guy, but he's in the race, diluting the votes. I mean, yesterday it should have really been, well, we'll leave it at that. But Gabe Sterling gets a lane to answer any way he wants. No pushback. Nobody forces him to rebut. You've watched other, right? You watched other debates. You see Burt Jones and Rick Jackson with a little bit of back and forth. You see a little bit of pushback on some others, right? Not 1 second. Gabe Sterling, every time he had his opportunity, he was not interrupted. He looked at that camera, and he was well rehearsed and ready to give a clean answer to everything. So if you're sitting out there and you're unsuspecting and you don't know and you're not aware of all the facts, sounded good to me, Martha. Sorry, we don't know who Martha is. We just said that. Husband and wife in the room, okay? Now, I'm going to give you another one from Gabe. Are you getting tired of it? But I am. I'm going to give you another one from Gabe. So let's go there.
Because 11% of Americans move every single year. I would also require the citizenship verification, the audits that we have done voluntarily to be done, because one of the worst things that can happen is if a Democrat gets into this office or they sue us appropriately and somebody who overreaches opens the door for them, they can get rid of voter ID, they can get rid of list maintenance, and get rid of citizenship checks. I'm the only person who sat in court and won defending Georgia's election integrity from Stacey Abrams, the Coalition for the People's Agenda, who sued us directly on citizenship, and I have won every time in court, and I will do it every time in the future.
Once again, the Democrats are coming. The Democrats are coming, right? So, now this one here, they ask him about, Gabe, about the warrant. It's like 1 hour of Gabe Sterling got to say anything he wanted, right? And this is Gabe Sterling talking about the warrant at Fulton County for the ballots.
Look, they had a warrant. Fulton complied. That's where we stand right now. The FBI has them, and I think they can look at all this data and all this information again that has been looked at by both state investigators and the GBI and the FBI. I don't think you're going to see anything different come out. But the thing is, this is looking backwards 6 years. We have to look forward now. We're in 2026. We had a record turnout yesterday for the beginning of early voting for a midterm election. The faith has been restored except for a small segment of Georgians. And we have a very good system. People like doing it. They go in, they show their ID, they vote very quickly, very easily. We got rid of lines. We have to look at the reality of this. In 2024, right after the election, 90.5% of conservatives said they believed the outcome, and 98.6% of Georgians had a great voting experience, and zero African Americans were found to have had a problem voting. We have to be in a position to defend ourselves from when the Democrats come. And they will come again every time because they want to get rid of our voter ID laws. They want to get rid of, okay, I got two different times up here, of our election security. And we have to be in a position to win. I'm the only candidate on stage who's done that already.
I'm the only candidate on stage. I'm the only candidate on stage. right? The Democrats are coming. Just telling you. Then he throws in 2024, we won. Now, this is where Vernon, well, I'm going to give you this next one and then I'll break it down.
And the legislature hasn't given this to us. I want to make sure we do have those resources because we have to stop this, and we've passed a lot of new laws to protect our seniors, and I'm proud of the work we did.
Vernon Jones, your response to the question.
The AJC reported that.
Oh, it's my time. It's my time.
Vernon Jones, your
You
question.
need to answer the question that you're taking taxpayers' dollars right now in the contract. You haven't answered that yet. Let me just say this. You and I both know that people call the Secretary of State's office. They had a problem. What I have a problem with.
Yeah, several candidates here have said they want to streamline.
All right, so you notice even when Kelvin King makes a comment and says the AJC says that, he's talking, Kelvin King's not attacking Vernon Jones. He's responding to something Gabriel Sterling said. And the minute, keep this in mind, the minute Kelvin King goes to take on Gabriel Sterling to see if he can get some pushback on Gabe Sterling, who stops it? Vernon Jones. You haven't answered the question yet. You haven't answered the question yet. Vernon Jones steps in. You got to pay attention to all of this. Vernon Jones didn't even allow Kelvin King to push back on. Didn't even allow Kelvin King to push back on Gabe Sterling. Hold on. All right, so we get another one here.
Professional licensing. Yeah, several candidates here have said they want to streamline the professional licensing and cut through red tape. So how would each of you do that?
Let's begin with Vernon.
One of the biggest issues are the board members themselves. As a matter of fact, Mr. King sits on the board, and you can't even determine how to reach the board members. They just show their names. Those boards are politically appointees, and many of them you cannot even determine which of those boards, when they're meeting properly, where the citizen can come to those board meetings and find out what's going on. It's like pulling teeth. Secondly, I would make sure that those licenses, again, I said it earlier, if you don't have your license within 30.
Let's go to you.
Yeah, I'm not real sure what you're talking about, Vernon. But
the no bid contract you have. That's what I'm talking about.
I don't have a no bid contract.
Are you getting paid by the state of Georgia?
I don't have a no bid contract.
Are you getting paid by the state of Georgia with a contract?
I don't have a no bid contract.
Do you have a
I
contract
compete
with
just like
the
everybody
state
else.
of Georgia? Do you have
I compete like everybody else.
Taxpayers' dollars as you stand here?
It's legal.
Are you paying?
It's illegal. Is it legal or not? It's legal.
That's not my
All right, this is part of your time. So.
Well, it's illegal. Okay, I compete with everybody else.
So you see, he's
Calvin
paying
King?
taxpayers' dollars, but he will not come out and say, "I don't have any
What do you
contract."
mean? What are you talking about? You don't have a business.
I don't have a. I do have
You
a
have
business.
15 seconds left, Calvin King.
What do you do? What do you do?
I'm a
What service
consultant.
do you provide?
I'm a government relations.
How many
services.
employees do you have? No,
I have, wait a minute, hold on. No, wait a minute. Let me answer your question.
Pardon me.
Let me answer your question.
Pardon me, sir.
So, do you have a contract with the state
Calvin
of Georgia?
King, you've lost your time.
Do you have a contract with the state of Georgia?
Calvin King, you've lost your time. Let's go on to Gabe Sterling. Gabriel Sterling.
The reality of this is, Vernon has a good point that there's a problem with the boards. The fortunate part is we work with the legislature and have already passed a law.
Vernon has a good point. Gabe Sterling got in. Vernon has a good point. He has a good point. Are you seeing this? Are you paying attention? I mean, I have to tell you, how can anyone out there cast their vote as a Republican for Vernon Jones? How can you do that? After what you're watching, what you're witnessing. Now, Kelvin King, he goes after Kelvin King. Again, you got a no bid contract. Now, let me explain this. Because Vernon, this is horrific what he did. I mean, it is. And if you want to take Kelvin King out, Vernon Jones, who are you taking Kelvin King out for? And what would be the benefit to you, question mark, in this because you're not going to be the next Secretary of State. Is there benefit, question mark, in any way for you to take out Kelvin King for Tim Fleming, question mark, Gabriel Sterling, question mark, just a question mark? Why don't you come out and answer why you attack Kelvin King unjustly about things that are not accurate? Now, let me say this, because what Vernon doesn't know, and in my past life, no, I'm not reincarnated, let's not go there, okay? But I always call my past life, I used to do a lot of government projects. I've worked for the Army Corps of Engineers, okay? I've worked at Fort Leonard Wood out in Missouri. I worked at the IRS Computer Center in Martinsburg, West Virginia. I've done state contracts. I have, for years, I bid contracts. Now, let me look you in the eye and tell you something, not from Kelvin King, from BKP. When you have a construction company and you get any state contract, you have to qualify. Yes, you have to fill out paperwork and you have to become what's called a qualified bidder. So if you called right now, and I haven't done it in years, so don't quote me, but if you called right now and say, I want to bid on this project, okay, are you on our qualified bidders list? No, how do you do that? We'll send you the information. So I'm not for sure exactly how Georgia does it now to a T, but you get on if it's building a building, if it's sewer work, if it's building roads, it's all different. But you get a qualification, you become a qualified bidder. So once you're on a qualified bidder list, you can bid state projects. That's the first thing you got to do is meet the qualifications, because they can't take bids from everybody if you're not bonded or you don't have the financial ability to do the job. They can't do that, right? So, or if you owe the state a lot of money, whatever. So you have to become a qualified bidder first. That's number one. Number two, when you bid, you get awarded a contract, you have to provide a bond. You have to be able to bond your company. That's number two, bond your company. And number three, in most cases, you have to do what's called certified payroll. Yes, you do. So, and you do draws. So if you get $1 million contract, you put in your draw request, $1 million, 18% of the job is done, 12% of the materials are on the job, this is this much, retainer is this much. So my draw, you get a draw report. My draw report is X that I'm getting a check for off a contract, and here's my certified payroll. That's not uncommon. It's very tight and scrutinized. Now, Vernon Jones wants to lead you out there to believe that Kelvin King has a no-bid contract or a contract or doing something nefarious. The man has a construction company. And he actually, in the Air Force, is it called procurement or however it's called, he was actually able and qualified to make purchases in the Air Force. He met all the requirements there. This guy is so well qualified for what he's about to do. Just a man of character, owns a construction company. You can't go find the marks against him. But Vernon Jones takes an hour, instead of going after Tim Fleming to the right that's not there, or going after Gabe Sterling, who the base has a problem with, Vernon does everything he can do for an hour to try to clear a path and take on a fellow black member Republican on the ballot and the black Republican's black wife on the ballot. That was his goal, to do that. To why? To clear a lane for someone? So the construction thing and the bidding contract is absolute garbage. Now, let me get to one more. A couple more, and we're going to get ready to close. I wanted to extensively do this in great detail.
Wealth is protected.
Vernon Jones.
Yes, I appreciate the opportunity to come before you all. Thank you, Karen, Atlanta Press Club. I want to be clear. I don't have a contract with the state of Georgia, and if I did, unlike Mr. King, I would tell you I have it. In addition to that, you want someone that's going to talk about free, fair, and transparent, not only walk the walk, but talk the talk. My legislative experience, my executive experience, and overseeing local elections, I've run a government. I'm the only one that's actually run a government and been on the executive side. So I know how to work with the legislature to address the issues legislatively and through executive order to make sure that office is running in the most efficient, effective way, not only with this election, but also those boards. I don't sit on the board and deny I'm on a board like Mr. King, that he denied being on the board. I'm for free, transparent. The board that you sit on is the Opportunity Board. Matter of fact, I'll give you the board, Mr. King.
You only have a few seconds left.
Okay, give him the board.
15 seconds.
So you sit on, Mr. King, the Georgia Commission of Equal Opportunity Board for the commission. Now, is you on that board? Are you not on that board, Mr. King?
Yeah, so people.
But you just said you were not on that board.
No, what board are you
Mr.
talking
King
about?
That
just
is
said
your
he wasn't
time,
on
Mr.
that board.
Jones.
What board are you talking about?
That is your
Of
time.
course, I serve honorably on that board.
All right, let's go with Ted Metz. And Gabriel Sterling, you have the final statement.
Well, it's been fun. I think we've seen a clear choice on stage tonight here. I'm the only candidate who has a history of fighting the Democrats and winning in court, in campaigns, and I'm the one keeping the main thing the main thing. Democrats want to get in and tear down the safeguards around our elections. We can know this because of their lawsuits and because of their votes. I'm the only person with a proven record of fighting them and winning. When Stacey Abrams, Joe Biden's Justice Department, the entire woke world came and took the All-Star game away, I was the one in the courtroom fighting them and winning and defending SB 202, the Election Integrity Act, and making us, according to Fox News and Heritage, the best and safest state to vote in America. And I'm going to continue to do that as your secretary. One thing I failed to mention in my opening is I'm a new dad. I've got a 6-month-old son at home, and he is a joy, and he's really crystallized the rationale for me to be here and fight for Georgia. I've been doing it for 40 years. I'm going to continue to do it. I'm going to fight for conservative victories, and we're going to keep Georgia the best state to vote, the best state to have a business, and the best state in America. Gabriel Sterling, I need your vote. Thank you.
All right, and Gabriel Sterling, you have the final.
You see, Gabe Revere gets out no marks. No marks. Gabriel Sterling dusted it off. He's out of there. He gets to say, it's been fun. Right? It's been fun. And he also says, I'm the clear choice. Right? I'm the clear choice. Vernon Jones, in his closing statement, continues to attack. Vernon Jones continued to attack Kelvin King and his wife. About as low, slithering to the ground you could get. I mean, he was so low he could probably fit under a rug. I'm serious, that's how I felt about it. I was so angry the other day because here is the empty podium, and let's see if we can find that, right? Here is the empty podium right here. Hold on a second. You see, there's Kelvin King, and there is Gabriel Sterling smiling. And here is the, let me see if I can find it. Here's the guy missing, Tim Fleming. Here's the empty podium, right? Empty podium. Nobody talks about it. Here is Vernon Jones, Kelvin King, Gabriel Sterling, and Ted Metz. And as I said earlier today, not really wanting to upset you, but as I said earlier today, Gabriel Sterling won the debate. Vernon Jones did everything he could to take down a respected, educated Republican, man of character, small business owner, living the American dream, black man and his black wife. Vernon Jones did that, right? While leaving Tim Fleming and Gabriel Sterling to run as they wish. You're going to divide the pie. You're going to divide the pie if your votes go to Vernon Jones. And you're going to divide the pie if your votes go to Ted Metz. And I can't say enough negatives about Vernon. He angered me so bad. And by the way, have you realized he's black? I do have the video, Vernon. You know you say that all the time. You like to remind audiences of that. And remember, when the pushback came from Kelvin King, the accusations that Kelvin King made are not accusations. They're facts against Vernon Jones and what he had to pay out, or the county of DeKalb County had to pay out in a discrimination lawsuit, and the $800,000 that I had reported for his security detail. So Kelvin King pushed back with fact. Vernon Jones tried to manipulate you to get you to believe Kelvin King is the bad guy. Ted Metz, can't say it enough, most knowledgeable guy I think I have met. There's several others out there that can read you the law. Ted will start out OCG, and he's really, really good. But if you take that percent, you take Vernon's percent, and you tear down Kelvin King, just saying, for those of you out there that have been going to the state election boards, that have been holding press conferences in the rotunda of the Capitol of the Gold Dome, right, that have been holding banners, that have drove all across the state yelling paper ballot, that have vans that say paper ballot, that go over to Liberty Plaza and have big events saying paper ballot, election integrity. For every single thing you've done, you could wake up and have Tim Fleming or Gabriel Sterling as your nominee for the next Secretary of State. Because as Gabe said, the Democrats are coming. The Democrats are coming. I just want to say this before I go. I want to close with this because I think the best statement of the night was made by Ted Metz, and I want to play it.
And actually voice our concerns that we need to be a constitutional republic again, not a central planning communist state.
Vernon, because 11% of Americans move every single.
We need to be a constitutional republic again. Thank you, Ted. That was the statement of the night. Hey, look, I'm going to get ready now to do an update on the Attorney General's office. I have been very frustrated over this race because, as I started out today, the last time a Democrat held the seat, remember that, the last time a Democrat held the seat, it was held by Kathy Cox, right? And then after Kathy Cox brought in the die-bolt voting machines, and Georgia then became the first state in the United States to have a full implemented digital voting system in Georgia. Every election was held on it in every precinct in every 159 counties of the state. As Gabe said, the Democrats are coming. The Democrats are coming. I'm for sure I'll get some pushback on this. I'm for sure some people will say something. But then again, you know me. Well, let's see. We're going to take a brief break, and we'll be back soon.
With my 35 years of experience, our team at U.S. Asset Management can deliver professional investment management financial planning to help you target your goals, and even specialized divorce financial analysis if you need it. We are here to help you make better decisions with your money. Call U.S. Asset Management today, and let's get to work in your financial future.
The left is siding with illegals, attacking ICE, and fighting to let non-citizens vote. Republican Kelvin King is a graduate of the Air Force Academy, Air Force veteran, and conservative businessman. As Georgia's Secretary of State, Kelvin will put Americans first, root out corruption, clean up voter rolls, and restore confidence in our elections. The other candidates had their chance and failed. Republican Kelvin King for Secretary of State, leadership Georgia voters can trust.
Pro-Trump warrior Steve Gooch won't just cut property taxes in Georgia. He'll throw them straight in the wood chipper.
Senior citizens on fixed income shouldn't be forced from their homes. Neither should veterans who have served our country and fought for our freedoms. And neither should anyone else for that matter. Frankly, these crazy property taxes are un-American. I'll tear them to shreds. We'll make home ownership great again.
Steve Gooch for Lieutenant Governor. Toughest tax cutter Georgia's ever seen.
Do you already have your investments with Fidelity? I'm David Cross with U.S. Asset Management. Did you know that you can assign your investment management to my team and put my 35 years of experience to work for you? You simply assign us as your investment manager and you keep the same username and password. Professional management, and you get to work with someone who shares your values. Call U.S. Asset Management today and put us to work for you.